Hello, everyone, and welcome to 1v1 with Boss Rush Games. I'm your host, Celeste Roberts. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Sarah, founder and owner of Cheerful Goods, a business featuring her adorable crocheted masterpieces. Good evening, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'm flattered that someone would want to know more about me, so this is so nice.
Oh, you are so talented and you're so fun. I've been interacting with you on Twitter for a little while now, and I actually found out about you because Shane Kelly with Another Zelda podcast, which I'm also a part of, he won one of your giveaways. He won a Zelda, would figure or doll be the correct term?
I think like doll. So I think for most of the stuff that I make in general, and I'm probably gonna say this wrong, but there's a Japanese term called amigurumi, I think. So kind of like 3D plush fiber art stuff is my interpretation of that. So, but yeah, it's a doll. It was a little doll.
So cute. He won that Zelda doll and he proudly displays it on his shelf. I was telling that to Sarah before we started recording. And I have never sewn in my life. I mean, like I've put a needle through thread to fix something one time, but
Sure.
I can't get over how people can create like that. So I thought you might like to share what that process is like.
Yeah, so I feel really lucky that I grew up in a household where my mom was always doing a lot of crafting and just creating. So she has a bachelor's in arts, and she actually has a focus on weaving. So she owns like looms and things, and so I grew up with like a loom in our house, which is not normal, right?
What, a loom? Like the
Yeah,
big loom?
yeah, right, yeah. So she had like an art studio with the loom and like and sewing machines and all this stuff. So it's just something that I've always been surrounded by, which has been really awesome because both my sister and I are both really artistically inclined. But growing up kind of in that environment, and then my grandma always knit and crochet, and I actually tried to learn how to crochet from her, I don't know, when I was probably in my teens or something like that. And my brain at the time just would not, it just could not like latch on to what she was trying to teach me. So I actually didn't really learn how to start doing this until about 4 years ago at this point, I think. And I always do the Reddit Secret Santa exchange. And, you fill out like your little profile and they're like, what do you want to do? And what are you interested in? And I was like, I would really like to learn how to crochet, right? Like that's something that's always been on my list. I've never done it. And I got a person that sent me a couple skeins of yarn and some hooks and a book, and I was like, okay, like somebody has like invested in me, I'm gonna figure out how to do this, and I did. So that was kind of the catalyst for me revisiting that, because I had always knitted a little bit. I've sewn, I've done embroidery, I've done kind of making things out of felt and that kind of thing, but crochet was always this thing where it was kind of like intimidating because my brain didn't always handle that like 3D aspect super well. But for whatever reason, when I tried it again 4 years ago, it clicked with me, and I've just been running with it ever since. So.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Now, what have you sewn before? Like, do you make clothes?
So like our high school had a home ec program, so like I took home ec and I made shorts and like the home ec stuff that people that are lucky enough to have a home ec program get to learn. So I've made a few things like that, some like bags. I have like a whole closet full of Valentine's Day fabric because I'm obsessed with Valentine's Day, and someday I'm gonna make like an amazing Valentine's Day quilt, which hasn't happened yet, but it will someday. So that kind of thing. I would love to get more into pattern making and clothing and stuff, but you really need a lot of space to be able to kind of like spread that stuff out, and we just don't have that space right now, as you can probably tell, because I have like yarn all over my walls for storage back there.
It's cute. It kind of, from this angle, it looks like an art piece.
I know, yeah, it's lovely. Like I always try to like rearrange it so it's in rainbow order and like is really aesthetically pleasing and all this stuff, because this is now my office because we work from home right now. So yeah, we don't have a lot of space or storage right now, but when we do, that's something that I would love to investigate, because I don't know, every art I really like fabric art, I guess, and each medium just allows you to do different stuff and experiment in different ways, and it's just really interesting to me. So
I
yeah.
love that because there are so many. I love that you said there's so many different types of mediums, and they let you explore in the different ways because that is true. There are different shapes of needles and everything.
Mhm.
So we're gonna take it back even beyond 4 years ago. Would you like to talk about any of your hobbies? Because if you haven't seen Sarah's pieces, she's very into video games, and I'm curious how you got into that, and maybe some of your other interests, whatever you'd like to share.
Yeah, sure. So I I've played a decent amount of I don't know, that's hard to say something like that on the internet now, I feel like, because there's like all these like different skills and like qualifications and stuff, right? So like to be fair, my first system was a Nintendo 64, so I didn't have a NES or anything like that. But I've always enjoyed, you know, video games and multiplayer stuff, and I'm all about getting together with people and playing games together, and that's really my jam. So but really love the Legend of Zelda series. Always been a big Pokemon fan. I am really enjoying that new Pokemon Snap game that came out because there are just like little nitty gritty details and everything, and it's like really specific, and that's just totally right up my alley. So that's been really fun. But yeah, I've always had friends that played video games. I've always been somebody that's had a lot of like guy friends. So lots of weekends watching them play different campaigns and things, and just kind of being in that environment. So and I think the other thing about video games that are kind of inspiring is that there's always a lot of color, and there's a lot of character and a lot of imagination, and anything like that I'm gonna be drawn to. I love loud and colorful and fun. So if I could have like rainbow everything, I would. I have so many rainbows in my life. That makes me happy. So,
Oh, that's
yeah. So it's just
awesome.
always been fun. Always enjoyed it. I was a big band nerd in high school, so I've always been really into music. I was like total gung ho marching band leader, won
Woo
mental awards and stuff. So, so yeah. Always been very into the community building kind of stuff. So anything that's related to that, I'm always down for. So I like to dabble. I like to learn about new stuff and see what other people are interested in, and just kind of keep my options open, I guess.
What did you play in marching band?
I played trumpet. So
Awesome.
at the time, because in high school I was a little more reserved than I am now. So I was this like kind of quiet lady in high school, like playing this really loud trumpet. And now I'm like, oh, okay, no, you're actually you're actually an extrovert, and you're actually really loud. So now it all makes sense. So it all kind of came together over time.
I got a little excited because I was also in marching band, and
Oh
at the
yeah,
time I was like all into it
yeah.
and watching our shows
Oh
and
my gosh, yeah. I
watching
have like VHSs in
DCI.
my closet of like when we went to state, like that. Yeah, I decorated cars, I decorated lockers, I did the whole thing, the whole dang thing. So it was great.
That that was a good time. Good
Yeah,
times, good
yeah.
memories for sure. And I
Yeah.
love that you brought up that you love being a part of things that, or organizations that involve community building because I think that's always been around, but maybe I think it's now getting its recognition. I find that it's becoming louder. There are more opportunities for something like that. Do you find?
Yeah, I would totally agree. I think that one of the, I think the internet brings the internet's a mixed bag, right? But I think one of the things that it does really well is it allows people to connect with others that have similar interests or similar experiences, or that just want to learn about different things from like an actual person. So reading papers and books and things, those are informative and those are good, but it's totally different than talking to an actual person that went
Hmm.
through life experience, right? So I think as we saw over maybe the past 4 years, that I can have some mixed results with how that goes. But overall, I do think that the more opportunity people have to meet people from different walks of life and from different backgrounds, and just to get more of that diversity in your life, even if it's not in person, because I think that, as we found over the past year, those internet relationships and friendships are just as valid and meaningful as anyone that you meet in person. But that's a really important part of growing as a person, I think, just building that empathy and that understanding of other people and learning to see things from other people's perspectives. And I think that's something that it's easy to miss out on that if you kind of funnel your view a little too much. So internet's a mixed bag for sure, but I think that's the one like really huge positive that's really come out of this past year, even, is just allowing people to maybe be a little more realistic with their online self. And not, I know sometimes, I don't know, sometimes you kind of feel like you have to hold up this facade of like perfection, right? And I feel like this last year did a lot to help us work through that a little bit. And we can all be a little more real and just admit that we're all going through it and be patient with each other and help each other out and, just help take care of each other. So I'm all for that.
Very well said. That's very inspirational. And you're right. A lot of my friends are people I haven't met in real life yet.
Yeah, my husband started streaming on Twitch kind of like full time about this time last year, and we've met so many awesome people. We've gotten to know so many people. We hold like movie nights on our Discord, and we play Jackbox and different online games. And I'm just like, dang, I wish we could just go on a road trip and meet all these people right now. It's so frustrating. Like the one point in your life where you meet all these amazing folks, and you're kind of have to stay in place and keep separated for the time being. But I'm really excited for things to get better and get a little bit back to normal, so we can see a bunch of people that we've seen on video or on stream or whatever, and really get to interact with them, because that'll be really cool. I'm really looking forward to that.
Oh, does he stream video games or other stuff?
Oh, yes, he is across the hall from me. I think he's still playing Punch Out right now, probably very angry playing Punch Out because he's really frustrated because he keeps getting stuck. He's like away from Tyson, so he's really close. But yeah, he streams all kinds of stuff, mostly retro and things in that category. We've done some co-streams in the past, played through some Zelda games and stuff together. That's pretty much my speed, video game wise. So yeah, it's really fun. It's just really fun to have a community of just awesome people. Everybody's super chill and polite and respectful, and like that's just so nice. Like, how refreshing to just have a nice community that you can kind of hang out with at the end of the day. So that's been a really great thing over the past year, I'd say.
So do you like to use your creations to build a community as well? You're kind of crocheting a community? I went there.
Yeah, so I mean, I like to do as I can. My day job keeps me really busy. So I would like to do more giveaways and things as I can, but I like to do collaborations with my husband too. So over Christmas I made a whole bunch of like smaller stuff, so stuff that could be mailed easily, and we did a bunch of giveaways, and we try to do things like that to just kind of I don't know, just spread some cheer around, I guess. That's why I named myself Cheerful Goods, because I was like, oh, I don't want to like pigeonhole myself into one thing, but I just want to make people happy, right? So it was like, I make happy stuff. So we'll just go with Cheerful Goods, and that'll just cover me no matter what I end up doing, because whatever I end up doing, it'll be happy and colorful and fun. But yeah, I love seeing people post on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever, just seeing people provide feedback on my things that I made is so cool. Like, that's just so great. It's so nice to have a place to share those things, because I used to take them to work, right? And I don't really have a work right now. Aww. I have my office. So, I still share them over Zoom and Skype and things, but it's just so cool to have other people that are, recognition is always nice. I think everybody likes that. So it's just great to have feedback, and people have ideas and suggest other things. So I have like this huge list of all these things that someday I want to make. But I've really enjoyed being a part of Twitter. I've only really been active on there the past year, but I've had a really positive experience so far. I know not everybody's lucky enough to say that, so I definitely feel fortunate. But it's just been great to meet a whole bunch of different people like you and Shane and everybody else, and just spread it around. So yeah.
It's incredible because I've had the same experience as well. Can you still hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, my computer started flipping out a
I
little
saw
bit.
the lights flashing, so I was like, oh no.
Excited when you were talking
Yeah.
about you being a good place. It
Yeah.
thought you were lying, I guess.
Oh.
So I don't think you stated this, but do you remember your first piece that you crocheted?
Uh, yeah, I think it was probably, I think at the time I was really bent on making a hat. I really wanted to make a hat. And there's this move, I don't know what you call it. It's a stitch, I guess, but it's called a magic ring. So what you do is you basically make like a slip knot, and then you put stitches into it, and then you can pull it tight,
Okay.
and then you have like your little like really tight circle of stitches to work off of, right? And for someone who had never done that before, and that being kind of like the base of any kind of hat, or any of the other stuff that I make, really, it was so frustrating. I watched like, I don't know how many videos on how to do that one simple thing, and like I get frustrated really easily. So I'm like watching this on my phone, and I'm like sitting with my husband, and I'm like swearing up a storm. I'm like, ah, like, can I do this, right? And then I eventually got it, and then I was like, okay. And then I remember I just made this like simple hat out of like one color of yarn, and it like was not big enough to fit anybody, but I was like, you know what? Like, that is a hat. Like, you could look at that and know that that's a hat. So, like, that was cool. I was pretty proud of that.
Oh, like a
So
little
just,
beanie hat?
yeah, just something really simple, just one color, like a single stitch, nothing super fancy, but enough to kind of get a lot of those basics down and get comfortable with them. So, that's probably the very first thing I made. But the first thing that I made that I was like really proud of, and I was like, oh my gosh, like you could be pretty good at was one of my friends asked me to make him a Roadrunner, so like the blue cartoon Roadrunner, because
Oh,
his dad has a classic car that's a Roadrunner, I guess, and something that you do with those cars is you put a stuffed Roadrunner like in the front seat when you show it off at car shows and things. No idea. So okay, great, whatever.
oh,
So
oh, okay.
yeah. So I made one for him, and I'll send you some pictures of it because it was a while ago. But yeah, that was really cool. And I was like, okay, like that like actually required some skill, and I was able to do that, and it looks pretty good. So that was my first thing where I was like, okay, like I could probably challenge myself and learn how to do a whole bunch of different stuff if I really stick with this. So yeah.
Wow, I never knew that about the Roadrunner.
I
I meant
didn't either.
the car. I know who the cartoon is, but I didn't know that people did
Yeah.
that.
And then I guess you usually pair it with a Wile E. Coyote. So eventually I made him a Wile E. Coyote. So now he has like the pair that sits in like the driver in the passenger seat, like when they're at car shows. So
Okay,
I have some pictures. They are very cute. So
that is just okay. That is precious. So this,
yeah.
so pretend that people who are listening have no idea what crocheting is, and I'm curious, like, what is the technical, like methodology? How is it different from just regular
Yeah.
sewing?
So crochet and knitting get kind of confused a lot. And I would say the main difference is crochet, you're just using one needle, and knitting, you're using two, right? So you see like the grandma with like the two needles, like going like this. And with crochet, you're really holding your yarn with one hand in your project and then kind of looping it out on itself with just one hook. So that's kind of the main difference. And
Okay.
for me, if you're making something that's a 3D structure, crochet is easier because you can really just like build on itself, kind of like a 3D printer. So you're just kind of like going around in rounds and building and shaping as you go. Where with knitting, you've got to get, more than two needles in there. So you can have like sides and do 3D things like socks and all, which like my brain is not ready for that. Maybe someday I am out there. So, but knitting always has those kind of like V stitches on it, where crochet is more, it looks, I don't know if this will focus or not, but it's more kind of like knotted looking.
Uh-huh.
So people will, of course, send me pictures and they're like, hey, could you crochet this? And I'm like, I could, but that's knit, so I can't do that. But if
Oh
you can find a crochet
no.
version of it, then sure. But they look really, really similar if you're not used to seeing both of them and distinguishing between the two. But that's the big difference. One needle versus two, I would say, is the big difference between the two. So,
Interesting. And real quick, do you still see that it's recording? Because I'm making sure it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. Sorry, guys. My computer, the streaming by Twitch popped up, and that's what that flash of light was. And I was like, did it stop recording?
It says it's recording on my side.
Well,
So
thank you for that reassurance. I was like, oh my goodness. It's like, no, I want to listen to music, but no, not really. But yes, I've heard socks are very challenging to make. When
socks are one of those things where I think I've made one. I think I made like one sock and I was like so frustrated by it, but like my husband still wore it anyway. So he had like one sock that he wore, which was very sweet. But they can be, it's the heel, man. It's that heel that makes the turning and the working it together and everything kind of complicated. So I'm really bad about buying pattern books. So I just like see a pattern book and I'm like, oh, someday I will totally make at least one thing out of that gigantic book. So I buy it. And I have a book of sock patterns that I want to make, but I'm just like so intimidated. It's not like an easy, I like to like watch something while I work on things and kind of like multitask like that. And I'm like, ooh, I'm going to need like no background noise and be really focused if I'm going to make a sock. And I'm just like not always in a place, after you've worked all week where you're just like, oh, I just want to relax and not stress about making a sock. So someday I want to tackle socks, but yeah, I also find them intimidating, I guess. So
do you make your own patterns as well? I've heard that some people do that.
I do. The majority of what I make is a pattern that I bought off of Etsy or Ravelry from another designer that's kind of, made it multiple times and perfected it and written it down. So a lot of times I'll work off of something like that. I have made my own. So I had somebody contact me that wanted me to make some video game that I am totally forgetting the name of. Original
is it
character.
Among Us?
Not Among Us. Let me look really quick because that's going to bother.
Absolutely, because we've definitely researched on 1v1 as well. Don't feel bad.
I know she's in my Twitter DMs, so let me look really quick. And she was really happy with it and so excited. Where is she? It's one of those MMOs.
Okay.
It's not World of Warcraft.
League of Legends? Wow.
No. Sorry.
Oh no. I can't think of it. I was thinking Among Us because didn't you do some Among Us pieces?
They're on my list. I've never actually been able to make one. But oh well, I can't think of it. If I think of it later, I'll let you know.
You're just gonna say it while you're talking. You're just gonna come to you. That's what happens to me.
But anyway, but like she sent me like these pictures of her character, and she's like, "Could you make this?" And I was like, "Yeah, like yeah, I can." So it's a lot of trial and error when you write your own stuff, at least for me, because I'm not super savvy at it. But it's really rewarding when it's done because it's like a truly one of a kind thing that person has that nobody else is probably ever going to have.
Yeah.
So I do some stuff like that, and I have written some of my own patterns. I've never published any because I've never had the opportunity to practice them enough where I would feel comfortable. With that training background that I have, I'm like, okay, I really want to be able to tell people what they need to do, and have it be accurate. So I've never been able to like practice them enough to push them out the door. But I've created like a Mrs. Mouse from Mario, and I don't know if you've seen Illbleed from Dreamcast maybe or Sega Saturn. I don't remember. I'm totally gonna get in trouble for that, but there's like this cake of death, so it's like this tiered cake with like blood coming out of its mouth and like I don't know. It was super weird, but I made that for somebody. So I've done some pretty unique stuff that's interesting when you go to UPS and you're like, I need to ship this. And it's like a cake that's like this tall with like PVC pipe leg supports and stuff.
Oh, how cute.
Yeah. And they're like, can you bend it? And I'm like, not really. So it's
So
always interesting.
that's funny. I would love to be a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
Store.
Yeah.
So I have to. So I'm not. I've never done any of this kind of craft before. So whenever you're writing a pattern, what is that process like? Do you like you stop after each step, or do you record yourself and then you go back and write it?
I try to write it as I go because I found that if I'm like, okay, I'll just remember that I made 4 repeats of that line or whatever, I will get to the end of those 4 lines and I'll be like, wait, did I do 4? Did I actually do 4? So I try to be like really meticulous about, finishing a row. So like a time around, finishing a row, typing it in my Word doc, finishing a row, putting it in my Word doc, because otherwise, like I find that I lose my place really easily. And then it also allows me to kind of like make notes as I go. So a lot of times I'll make something for the first time and then I'll leave notes on it for next time to say, if you ever make this again, here's what I would do differently, right? So I can kind of like learn from myself, from my past mistakes, because I had an experience one time where someone asked me to make a pineapple penguin. So it's like a penguin that has the body of a pineapple and then a penguin face and like penguin arms and feet and then like pineapple spikes coming out of its head. And I made one and I'm like, okay, I am never going to make one of those like ever again in my life. So I didn't write any of it down. And then like 2 months later, she's like, hey, my friend really loves that pineapple penguin. Can I have another one? And I'm like, oh. And I'm like, of course you can, but I'm going to have to figure out how to do it all over again. So it might be a little different. So I wrote it down the second time. So now if anyone ever wants a pineapple penguin, I am covered. I am good.
That sounds adorable. I might want one.
I like cute. It's got like the body of it has like a textured stitch, so it has kind of like the bumps that I mean, it's not spiky obviously, but like the bumps that a pineapple has. It's cute. I don't know where they got the idea for it, but yeah, it turned out pretty cute. So
so you do take custom orders then?
Yep. Yeah. I have people reach out to me on Twitter or Instagram, or I do have a little shop on Etsy. I have sold a lot more stuff than what's listed there, just because a lot of my stuff is word of mouth and, kind of ad hoc type stuff. But, yeah, like I said, my day job keeps me really busy, so I try to be realistic with my turnaround times and things because it can take me a while to get to stuff. I had somebody, I'm really excited. I have an order that I'm sending to Italy. And
Italy? Wow, congratulations.
I was telling Tony I really want to get like a map on like a cork board and then put like pins in all the places where I've like sent something, because I think that'd be super cool. But they were like, oh, I thought you forgot about me. I'm like, no, I didn't forget about you. I just take a really long time. Like, I'm just really slow and I'm so sorry, but I will not forget. I won't forget about you. It's just going to take me a while. So, but yeah, so it's just been really interesting. I've sent, several things to Canada, sent some stuff to the UK, mostly within the US and, across the US, but it's just so cool to have somebody just stumble across your store on Etsy and be like, that's the dumpster fire I want. That is the one for me, and order it. Like, that's just so cool. I'm just so flattered anytime somebody wants to buy something from me. So it's just so neat.
She's not kidding about the dumpster fire.
Yes, they're out there right now.
They're so cute. They're happy dumpster fire. Oh.
Nice. So yeah.
Yes, be sure if you're not watching the YouTube video, y'all really should take a peek because she's showing off some of her work, and I love her background with the lights and her heart dress. So cute. So what would you say are your favorite kind of subjects to crochet? Like unique things that you come up with? Is it the custom orders? Is there a certain series that you really enjoy making?
I would love to eventually crochet like every Pokemon, which at I don't even know, probably like over like 900 things, right? Like that's like kind of an insane goal. But I think that'd be really cool. I've done perler bead art in the past before, things that look kind of like the pixel art type stuff. And I was like, oh man, what if I made like a pixel art Pokemon and I just put them all on a wall and like they're just like all like that. So I've always thought like having a whole collection of something would be really cool. Um, but really anything where you can easily swap out colors and do different combinations of things, those are always super fun to me because it gives you a lot of, artistic license to just try different stuff and see if you like it, see if other people like it. I like things that have like spiral curly stuff like octopuses and jellyfish and stuff. So those are always really satisfying, or like a doll with like curly hair or something. So those are always really fun too. Anything with like dimension and texture is always fun. So I'm pretty open though. I don't know if I have a favorite. I definitely prefer making 3D things over 2D things like blankets. I've found that 3D stuff for me is much more forgiving because you can kind of stuff it and like shape it if it didn't turn out exactly how you were expecting. Where with the blankets and things that you're expecting to have really straight edges and stuff, it's harder to hide things there if they don't go well. So I know that's probably the opposite for a lot of people. A lot of people would probably think that 2D stuff is easier, but for me, I'm way happier making 3D stuff. So I don't
That
know.
makes sense, the way
And
you
it's really,
described it.
yeah, and it's satisfying because it comes together quickly, where a blanket can like take forever. So I like little stuff that you can just kind of whip up real quick and then see the uh, the result of your work, I guess.
So what happens? I mean, I don't know if it happens as much because you're a seasoned pro, but if you mess up on something, what do you do? Like, can you start over? Can you unravel it, or do you have to move on to new material?
Yeah, I mean, I think it probably varies depending on what type of yarn you're using. So if you're using something that's like really furry, it'll get kind of knotted as you go. But if you're using just regular yarn, it's really forgiving. You can just pull it out. So you can
Hmm.
it's called frogging. So undo your stitches like that, you can just pull it all out and start all over. So I have definitely done that a fair amount of time. So yeah, it's not something where like you've knotted a whole bunch of stuff and you just have to like get like your seam ripper or something out and like tear different things out. It's all just one big piece of yarn. So you can just pull it out, start over. So if you don't like how your colors are working together, it's really forgiving, which is another really nice thing about it, especially when you're getting started. So
Do you ever dye any of your own yarn, or you like to get it already pre-dyed?
I haven't been able to do that, but it would be really fun. I follow a bunch of really awesome yarn makers, I guess, on Instagram, and I splurged last year, I think, before COVID and everything happened, and I subscribed to this one artist called Hedgehog Fibers, which is super cute. She's in Ireland, and she dyes her own cotton and things. So I have some, really one of a kind type stuff, which is like beautiful, but I'm always like, oh my gosh, what can I use it on? Because it's so amazing. And like it's like you like are kind of afraid to touch it because you just love it so much. And but you're like, well, I bought it to use it for something. But there's so many cool people out there making different types of yarn that are available either on Etsy or directly through their stores. I got a set of custom crochet hooks from a really awesome artist in Australia last year. So there are just tons of people out there doing really cool stuff just across the entire medium. So if you look at any of those hashtags on Instagram, like crochet or handmade or anything like that, you'll just
Hmm.
find a really awesome artists out there that are doing great stuff. So
I love seeing people create. It makes me so happy. And I hope everybody has some kind of passion, some kind of outlet for creativity,
yeah,
whatever that may be, because like you and I were talking before we recorded, and even during the interview, just we both have day jobs. Most people have day jobs, and you need something that sparks your love and zest for life, right?
Well, you just need an outlet, right? I mean, and I think like a lot of times we think about having an outlet for negative stuff, and I think that there's
Hmm.
definitely a need for that, but you can have an outlet for positivity too. So I think that having an art form or something where you can celebrate something that happened, I think that that's really cool too. And you know, that's a great opportunity. So you should seize those too, and maybe we don't celebrate by letting ourselves relax and just kind of like veg out. Maybe we do something instead to celebrate something that went really well. So, yeah,
Yeah, something invigorating, right?
yeah, absolutely.
I like that. So, do you have any advice for anybody who might be interested in getting into crocheting, like a total novice?
So for me, I think the books are great. And I think books might be a place that you think to go first, but YouTube is amazing. And for me, it was so helpful to see people do things in real time and be able to just pause and rewind and just watch it as many times as I possibly needed to really figure out what I was trying to do and how they were doing it. And the great thing about YouTube at this point is that there are so many different content creators out there that you can really find somebody that, you have to find somebody that kind of like speaks the language that your brain can understand. Even if they're all showing you how to do the same thing, it's all going to be slightly different depending on who's teaching you,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So I think, don't just, if you really want to get into it, don't just watch one video. Like, just look up, crochet for beginners or a simple beanie or, whatever you want to do and find different versions of that and just see which creator speaks to you the best and is easiest for you to comprehend, and just be patient with yourself. I think that's something that's really hard for me when I learned to do something for the first time. I want to be perfect like right away, and that's not how it works usually. So just give yourself the grace and the patience to let yourself fail. Again, you can just rip it out. Nobody's going to die. It's going to be totally fine. You can start over in a different color or walk away from it or whatever, right? You don't have to perfect it right then and there. So just be patient with yourself, and the more you practice and the more you trial and error with it, it'll work out eventually. So, and I'm always happy to if you want to talk to someone or have questions, I'm happy to answer those too. So you're more than welcome to hit me up.
That's so sweet. Now, do you have I mean, you're part of a lot of different communities, but do you have a crocheting community you keep in touch with pretty regularly?
I know some people like from my work that crochet, and we share projects and things, and I've connected with a few people on Instagram and on Twitter and things, but I don't have like a regular group that I'm like, look what I did, right? Like that's really just like my general Twitter feed when I finish something or if I'm working on something. But it's always interesting to see like who responds to those things, and sometimes those people end up sending me DMs and I get to know them better, and we talk about different stuff. So I don't know. Every people are so fascinating, and everybody comes with their own like set of niche interests and everything. And I think that's always just so cool to learn about what other people are interested in and how it relates to what you already know and all of that. So um, I love hearing what people are interested in. So
Oh, very much a people person.
I am, yeah, which is so funny because I was so like shy and quiet and stuff when I was younger, and then I just hit like 28, I guess, and my brain was just like, we're gonna be a different person now, and just be really outgoing and like all this other stuff, and it's been really fun. So I'm totally into it. So yeah, I love meeting new people and learning new things, and it's always a good time.
I think it helps whenever you're around like-minded, not people, who agree with everything you say, but have the same kind of respect and zest for life that you do, that like-minded where it matters, if that
Yeah,
makes any sense.
yeah, I think I'm very much like a like people are always like the vibe's bad or like the energy's off, but I think that there's something to that. I really do. Like, I think that you can be around another person either, virtually or in person, and like you get a sense of how well you gel with that person. And it's okay if you don't. You don't have to get along with everybody, and it's okay to say, "Ooh, okay, like that person's cool, but not exactly my jam. I'm gonna try something else," right? So I know sometimes I think we feel, and maybe this is a more of a lady thing, but I think sometimes we feel like we have to get along with everybody and we have to support everybody and give all of ourselves all the time. But like you don't have to. Like, you can reserve some of that for yourself and for the people that you care about and that you enjoy spending your time with. So I think it's okay to kind of find your home, I suppose, in your online and your in-person communities. So
Your energy is very precious, like you have to be careful with how you spend it and with whom you spend it.
yep, absolutely, absolutely. And I know I'm somebody that's really easily influenced by other people's kind of moods and things. That's
Hmm.
something that I'm always trying to work on to, kind of have that like barrier so I can protect myself from that. But um, that definitely makes it more of a challenge when you're trying to like meet different people and kind of feel stuff out. So, but it's always worth it. It's always worth it to try different stuff and meet different people, in my opinion. So it's all good.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, how can listeners support you?
Yeah. So I mean, I think my username is the same everywhere. Thankfully, I got really lucky. So I have Cheerful Goods on Instagram and Etsy and Twitter. I try to do my sales through Etsy now because they offer really awesome shipping costs, which makes it cheaper for the
Mm.
person buying it, which is something that I always try to do. So I mean, I think Etsy's a good place to look, but really, I just like getting to know people. So if you want to check me out on Instagram or Twitter and give me a follow or send me a message or whatever, I'd be happy to meet some new folks and see how it goes. And if you end up wanting to pick something up, then that's just a bonus. So yeah.
Well, do you have any future plans, like either with Cheerful Goods, with crocheting, with other endeavors that you'd like to share?
Yeah, so I actually have one client on Twitter who's asked me to make all of the main characters from Final Fantasy X.
What? And how many are those?
Oh, at least 5 from what I can remember off the top of my head. So I made her an Oron. Probably saying that wrong. Earlier this year, and he turned out super awesome. So I'm making another one because somebody else wants one, and then I'm gonna kind of start breaking down all of those other characters that I'll get to learn about and make. But those will be really cool. And then I also have somebody who asked me to make some of the characters from Hamilton because he has a 9-month-old son that just loves Hamilton. And I'm like,
Oh.
a 9-month-old son that loves Hamilton? And he's like, yeah, he'll just be, he can be stressed out and crying, and we turn on Hamilton and he's just done. Like, he just calms down and he's totally chill. And I'm like, okay, well, that's super cool. So I'm going to make some kind of like, plush baby friendly versions of King George and Alexander Hamilton. So that look like,
Oh,
the Broadway characters. So that'll be really fun too.
oh my
Um,
gosh.
so those are a few things that I'm looking forward to. And then I always just try to do random stuff as I think of it. So I never fully know what's coming, but that's fun. That's fun.
But that would be so cute. That would be a really great like baby shower idea.
Yeah, I was surprised that there wasn't more stuff out there already that was like that. So I found a pattern for one of them. I'm gonna write the other one. But I think they'll be really, really cute together with like the wigs and everything. It'll be so cute. So I'm excited to see those.
So when you described, I just thought of this. It's not
Yeah.
even one of the topics I thought of.
Yeah.
But what is the smallest item you have crocheted, and what is the largest item you have crocheted?
Um, so the largest thing I've ever made was I made a monkey, a stuffed monkey, like a chimpanzee, that ended up being probably like that. And
Really?
somehow
Wow.
so that's probably about 3 feet tall and probably 2 feet across. And somehow
What?
this woman shoved it into like a first rate flat shipping rate box and sent it to like North Dakota or something. I don't know how she got it in that box, but it was squishy enough that it fit, I guess. So that's probably the biggest thing that I've made. The smallest thing that I've made, that's tricky. I don't know. I've made some, like, I don't have any on me, but I've made some really small, like, bunnies that were probably about maybe a couple inches long. There are some really cool artists out there that do, like, micro crochet where they get, like, a magnifying glass and they use, like, embroidery thread and these super, super tiny needles to make these adorable, like, half-inch things. Which I would love to do at some point. But again, that's one of those things where I'm going to have to be like completely fully focused. And I'm not really in a point in my life right now where I want to spend my evening doing that. So maybe someday. But yeah, if you look up micro crochet, there's a bunch of like really awesome stuff out there, like little corgis and dragons and all kinds of stuff, really awesome stuff, but nothing that I am currently making right now. So
That is amazing. It's like those people who put names on a grain of rice.
yeah, it's just like, yeah, somebody probably just did it to see if they could one day, and then they just like made a whole bunch of other stuff like that. And again, super cool, but not anything I'm capable of at this point in my life. So, but it's amazing to look at.
Have you considered streaming or making a YouTube channel where you instruct people since you do work in that arena?
Yeah, I would love to stream at some point. You know, I'm a casual gamer, so I could probably do a chill stream, video game stream. But it would be really cool to kind of, something I've thought of before is like having allowing people to request like a time lapse of their project being made. So like I could like record myself making it and then like shrink it down and give them like a 5-minute version of what it looked like all coming together. So it'd be really cool to share some of that stuff like on Twitch or some other platform. I need a better computer to be able to do that. So my dear Surface Pro has done such a good job over the past year being my work computer and everything else, but it is not built for actual Twitch work. So, but someday I would really like to, because I really, I like hanging out with my husband's chat when he's streaming. I'm gonna hop in there after we get done here. So I really like building those connections that way with folks, and I think it's not an art form that a lot of that type of community has access to. So I think it'd be interesting to just expose people to something different and help them learn something new if they wanted to. So yeah, hopefully someday.
I would love to see a time lapse video. That would be
Right? Yeah.
fascinating.
So if I can ever like figure out my lighting and my cameras and stuff, I think that would be really, really cool. So
Well, Sarah, is there anything else you'd like to say about crocheting, about Cheerful Goods, anything else you'd like to add?
yeah, I mean, I think that, I think it's always worth trying something. So I think if you're interested in something and if it looks intriguing, just give it a try, right? Like the worst thing that can happen is that it doesn't work out. So, maybe don't like dedicate your whole life savings to a hobby for the first time or anything like that. But if you can try something inexpensively, then go for it and try it out. And, I think also if you're watching those YouTube videos or buying patterns from people, and if you have questions, I've reached out to those folks for help before, and they've been really responsive and always really great. So, there are people behind those videos and those different tutorials that you're using, and they're likely more than happy to help answer any questions that you have. So don't forget that there are people out there that you can actually talk to and, connect with. And it's always worth a shot. So definitely encourage you to try new things and talk to some new folks. So.
Oh, well, thank you, Sarah. That's how we got this interview going. I
Yeah,
was just like, Sarah,
absolutely.
you want to talk about crocheting?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I was like, oh, nobody's ever asked me that before, but sure, why not? Yeah.
Thank you again so much for your time. I know it's after work, and I'm sure you've got a lot to do. So thank you for letting people get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, well, like I said, it was such an honor to even be considered. So, I appreciate you reaching out to me, and it was fun. Always great.
Thank you so much. And listeners, you can find Sarah, like she said, on Twitter and Instagram at Cheerful Goods, and same place, same name on Etsy as well. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Fairy Crypt. You can listen to our other 1v1s and our other shows at Boss Rush Network. And until next time, see y'all later. Bye, guys.